Part 1, a voice I hadn't heard in years. The phone rang just after midnight. Claire was already asleep beside me, breathing slow and even. I reached for my phone, trying not to wake her, expecting it to be a spam call or maybe a time zone mix-up from work. But the name on the screen stopped me cold. Lena. Claire's sister. I hadn't seen her in almost 5 years. Not since the wedding. Not since the fight. Not since she stopped existing in our lives like a light someone decided not to fix. I answered, voice thick with sleep. Hello. A pause. Then, hi, it's Lena. She sounded exactly the same, like someone constantly 2 seconds away from saying something she shouldn't. I know, I said quietly, glancing at Claire. She didn't stir. I'm sorry to call so late, Lena said. I didn't know who else to reach. Is something wrong? She exhaled. I just need to ask you something. About Claire. There was a beat of silence. And then. Do you know about Boston? I blinked, heart picking up speed. What? About her place. The one near Tremont. The one she said she sold after the wedding. I sat up in bed, moving carefully. What are you talking about? I just need to know if she ever told you. About him. The line crackled. I felt a chill crawl down my back. Him who? Lena sighed. God. She really didn't tell you anything, did she? Before I could answer, Claire stirred beside me. She reached for me blindly, half asleep. Her hand brushed mine. I looked down at her. Peaceful. Innocent. And for the first time in our marriage. I wasn't sure if I was holding a stranger. Part 2, the apartment I never knew about. I barely slept after that call. Claire curled into me like nothing had changed, like her sister hadn't just cracked open a part of our life I never knew existed. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, her breath against my shoulder, trying to decide if I should wake her. Ask her. But I didn't. Because something in Lena's voice, the way she said, she really didn't tell you anything, made me pause. It wasn't a warning. It was a challenge. And I wasn't ready for the answer. The next morning, Claire moved around the kitchen like always. Making coffee. Humming softly. She wore that oversized sweater I bought her for her birthday, sleeves too long, hair twisted up like she hadn't bothered with a mirror. She looked normal. Solid. Mine. But now I wondered. How much of her life before me had she boxed away? I tried to sound casual. Did Lena ever reach out to you again? Claire looked up from her mug, the steam brushing her cheeks. No. Why? She called me last night. Her eyebrows lifted slightly, then dropped. She did? Yeah. Said she was trying to get in touch with you. Claire's face didn't move. She knows I don't want that. But why not? I asked. What really happened with you two? She hesitated. Not long. Just enough. She lied to me. Repeatedly. About things that mattered. And Boston? I added, watching her closely. That did it. Her body went still. I told you. I sold that apartment after we got married. It was the first time I realized she was choosing her words carefully. Not denying. Not confirming. Just steering. When she left for work, I sat at the table for 20 minutes staring at my untouched coffee. Then I opened my laptop. Tremont Street. Boston. I had never been there with her. She told me she only lived there for a year before we met. That it was small, noisy, forgettable. That she was glad to let it go. But property records didn't forget. It took less than 10 minutes to find the listing. Still in her name. Lease renewed last spring. My stomach dropped. She had never sold it. Claire still had an apartment in Boston. I stood up so fast the chair nearly tipped. I didn't know what I was more shaken by, the lie, or the ease with which she told it. And suddenly I wasn't wondering what she was hiding. I was wondering who she was hiding. Part 3, The Man in the Photo. I took the rest of the day off work. Didn't tell Claire. Didn't tell anyone. I drove 2 hours in silence, the kind that feels heavy, like the car is holding its breath with you. Boston was gray when I arrived. Damp. That late winter, early spring blur when everything feels caught between seasons. Her building was older than I expected. Red brick. 3rd floor walk-up. No elevator. The kind of place that's been about to be renovated for 10 years. I parked across the street and waited. I wasn't sure what I was hoping to find. An empty apartment? A tenant? A mistake? I waited for almost 40 minutes. Nothing. Then, just as I was about to leave, the front door opened. And a man stepped out. Mid-30s. Tall. Clean-shaven. Wore a denim jacket like he didn't care if it was cold. Keys in one hand. Coffee in the other. He locked the door behind him. Unit 3C. The same one listed under Claire's name. My mouth went dry. He didn't look like a friend. Didn't look like a tenant. He looked comfortable. Like someone who lived there. I followed him, not closely, but enough to trail him around the corner and into a bakery. He greeted the barista by name. Got a refill. Made a joke. He was local. Known. This wasn't temporary. This was home. Back in the car, I searched again. Not property records this time, but any trace of who he was. Eventually I found it. A tagged photo on a neighborhood blog post. Ethan Ross, community artist and educator. And in the picture? Claire. Smiling. Standing beside him. She looked younger. Not by age, by weight. Like she'd shed something. A version of herself I hadn't seen in years. The caption read. Local artists Claire and Ethan returned to the community mural project they co-founded before Claire moved south. Before she moved south. Before me. I stared at the screen. The word return hit harder than it should have. Because Claire hadn't returned here with me. She'd been coming back all along. That night, I didn't ask her anything. She made dinner. Told me about a frustrating client. Rubbed my shoulders on the couch like she still loved me. Maybe she did. But she was also loving someone else. Or at the very least, a version of herself that never included me. Before bed, she kissed me softly. I said nothing. I just lay awake long after she fell asleep, one thought circling my mind on repeat. Who was Claire, when she wasn't being mine? Part 4, The Drawer She Forgot to Lock. The next morning, I watched her brush her hair in the mirror like everything was fine. And maybe for her, it was. She smiled. Told me she had a busy day ahead. That she might be late. That she loved me. I kissed her forehead and said it back. Not because I meant it less. But because I needed time. Once she left, I walked straight to her side of the closet. She always kept a small lockbox in the back corner of the top shelf, an old jewelry case she claimed held documents, sentimental things. I'd never opened it. But this time, when I reached up, the box wasn't locked. It clicked open with a soft sigh. Like it wanted to be found. Inside were the usual things, a faded passport, her high school ring, a few postcards from cities we'd visited together. But beneath that was something else. A stack of envelopes. Letters. All addressed to E.R. Ethan Ross. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding them. Each one was folded carefully. Dated. Not months ago. Years. The earliest from 2014, before we met. The latest, 2 weeks ago. I read the most recent one. And I wish I hadn't. Ethan. You always told me I could live 2 lives if I wanted to, that the heart can stretch wider than people think. Some days, I believe that. Other days, I don't. Other days I sit in silence with someone who loves me for the half of me he can see, and I ache for the rest to be held. I know what we were. I don't know what we are now. But I still keep the key to the studio. I still look for you in crowds. I still paint in yellow because of you. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it's the only honest part of me left. See. I sat there for a long time. Long enough for the light in the room to shift. Long enough for the weight of it all to settle into something cold and quiet. Claire had never physically cheated. But emotionally. She'd never left him. When she came home that night, I was waiting. The box was on the table. Her face changed when she saw it, not surprised. Just still. She didn't reach for it. Didn't run. Didn't cry. She just said, "So. You know." And I nodded. "I wanted to tell you," she said. "I just didn't know how to say it without breaking everything." "Then why keep going?" "Because I loved both versions of my life," she said. Then softer, "but only one of them was safe. That broke me more than any affair ever could. Because I wasn't the one she longed for. I was the one she could survive inside." Part 5, The Life I Didn't See Coming. We didn't speak much after that. She didn't try to explain further. And I didn't ask. Because part of me already knew the answers, or worse, understood them. Claire had been in love with a life that never quite let go of her. And I had spent years building a home around her, not realizing she was still visiting one that never included me. She slept in the guest room that night. Not because I asked her to. Because she knew I needed the silence. She closed the door gently. Like she was tucking me in one last time. I sat alone in our bedroom, the letters still spread across the bed. Each one read like a slow confession. Not desperate. Not apologetic. Just honest. Claire had always been honest in the quietest, most devastating ways. The next morning, she made coffee. Wore her hair down. No makeup. Just her. She sat across from me at the table like we hadn't shattered the foundation of our life 12 hours earlier. Then she said something I wasn't prepared for. "I'll leave." I looked up, startled. "You don't have to." "I do," she said. Calm. Certain. "You deserve someone who lives in the same place you do." I didn't argue. Because deep down, I think I'd already let her go. We packed together. She didn't take much, just clothes, a few books, her canvases. The letters, she left behind. "I don't want to carry them anymore," she said. I didn't know if that was for me or for her. Maybe both. At the door, she hesitated. Then turned to me with eyes so full of regret I nearly broke. "I did love you," she said. "I know. And I never wanted to hurt you." I nodded. Still did, though. She closed her eyes. Then opened them again, steadier. "Goodbye." And just like that, she was gone. No screaming. No slammed doors. Just the quiet click of a life ending with more grace than it ever began. I didn't cry. Not then. Not for a while. But I sat in the living room until midnight, staring at the yellow painting she left behind. And I realized something. It wasn't a painting. It was a self-portrait. All this time, she had been trying to show me who she really was. And I only ever saw what I wanted her to be. Part 6, What's Left After Love. Weeks passed. She didn't call. I didn't write. And yet, somehow, she was still everywhere. The coffee mug she always used, still in the cupboard. The throw blanket she curled up in during movies, still draped over the couch. The scent of lavender on her side of the bed, faint, but present. It was like she had evaporated instead of left. No drama. No chaos. Just, absence. People asked, gently at first. My brother. A few friends. Hey, man, where's Claire been lately? Working, I'd say. Out of town. They didn't press. And eventually, they stopped asking. Because when people sense a wound you're not ready to open, they learn to walk around it. I went back to work. Cooked for one. Started walking in the mornings just to feel the air on my face. It helped. A little. But there were moments, sudden, sharp, where grief would sneak in like a thief. Folding laundry and finding her sock. Hearing a song she used to hum in the shower. Seeing yellow paint on the inside of a brush she forgot to clean. And then, one day, a letter came. No return address. Just my name. Neat handwriting. Familiar. I stood at the door for 5 minutes before I opened it. There are things I wish I could explain better. But I think the truth only lives well in silence now. I want you to know something you never heard me say out loud: you saved me. Not from heartbreak or pain or my past. You saved me from forgetting who I was capable of being. You gave me a world that was safe. Steady. That world deserves to be loved in return, not haunted. I'm doing better now. Painting again. Sleeping. There's peace in knowing I chose to walk away before I destroyed the one place that held me gently. You were good to me. Even when I wasn't honest. Thank you. Claire. I read it 3 times. Then folded it and placed it in the drawer beside my bed. Not because I needed to remember. But because letting go doesn't mean pretending it never happened. Now, months later, I still think of her when the light hits the living room wall just right. Sometimes I imagine she's still painting, her brush tracing soft lines no one else will ever see but her. And sometimes, I like to think her paintings are brighter now. I don't know if I'll fall in love again. I'm not rushing to. Because there's something sacred about living through a quiet heartbreak and realizing you survived. And more than that, you learned. Claire wasn't my forever. But she taught me something no one else could. Sometimes love ends not with betrayal or rage, but with honesty. And that, too, is a kind of grace.